Muy buenas a todos y bienvenidos al canal, a un nuevo directo para un juego que se llama The Stanley Parable. Somos una persona que se llama Stanley, que nuestro trabajo es hacer todo lo que nos dice el computador, pero de un momento a otro pasa algo raro y el computador no nos da más trabajo que hacer. Entonces salimos de la oficina y vamos y tratamos de averiguar qué es lo que pasa, porque bueno, una voz como que nos trata de guiar diciéndonos qué hacer. Pero bueno, ya vamos a ver. Ya lo he visto, o sea, no todo, pero pues es bastante popular el juego. Em, pero sí, está muy chévere. Ya hice las pruebas y todo para ver cómo se veía y creo que está bien. El sonido va a ser igual que siempre, yo creo, que siempre se escucha como no sé, como de mala calidad y después ya se mejora. Pero bueno, voy a escuchar un momento esto y bueno, comenzaremos. Ok, ya comprobéis, se escucha, en verdad se escucha bien. Curiosamente, no sé por qué oí bien, pero no me voy a quejar. Aquí, extras, como comenzando. Esto te sale en desactivado y tú lo que tienes, o sea, actívalo y te da un logro por la cara, súper fácil. Y hay otro logro que quiero probar, que creo que es como que tratas de saltar y no puedes. Ya vamos a verlo. Así que bueno, vamos a comenzar el juego. Never, the end is never, the end is never, the end is digo never.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok, aquí ya nos podemos mover, pero quiero escuchar un momento. Está bien. Creo que podemos cerrar la puerta o algo. O sea, si yo hago así, creo que se cerraba la puerta. Estoy intentando cliquear. Aunque creo que no puedes, me parece. ¿No? Tengo que... Ah, sí, sí puedes
But
cliquear.
Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Ok, primer final, ¿no? Sería. Vale, muy bien. Bueno, salgamos. Vamos a hacerle caso a esta voz. Primero. Ya después vamos a nuestro ritmo.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oh, por aquí podré. Ok, no. Oh, aquí está. Aquí. Awaiting input. Ok. Bueno, ya pueden ver que se parece bastante al del Dr. Langeskov. ¿Serán de los mismos? No estoy seguro, me tocará mirarlo. Pero es muy similar, es muy similar a ese, para los que lo recuerden.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ok. Te haré caso, amigo. Por ahora.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ok.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ay, todos los juegos en primera persona me ponen muy nervioso. De verdad.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Espera. ¿Cuál? Ah, oh, sí, es muy grande para no verlo. Pensé que se iba a abrir por entre los libros, aunque bueno, aquí bueno, técnicamente no. Sí que se abrió entre los libros, aunque no de la forma que yo pensaba, pero bueno, no importa. Sigamos. Uy.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Estaba comprando cómo se veía.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ah, sí que es grande. Dice escape, pero vamos a hacerle caso. Qué mal rollo, sí.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
No puedo interactuar con nada de esto, ¿no? Ah, no puedo hacer zoom. No.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Nosotros, ¿cuáles que somos? 240 y pico. 247, ¿no?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
¿Qué hacen estos botones? No parece que pueda hacer mucho con eso. Ah, esperas, ¿no será? tocará pulsarlos en orden. Aquí. Aquí está probando lo de saltar, pero no parece que el logro sea así. Debe ser de otra forma, no sé. Uy, y ese... Uy. Es difícil ver. ¿Acá? No. ¿Tendría que entrar? Simplemente. Ah, pues tal vez sí. Aunque tal vez se pueda hacer algo ahí, pero no sé. ¿Qué exactamente?
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin. The feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Okay, beat the game. Muy bien, primer final. Bueno, ahora vamos a ir todo a la derecha.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Pues no tenía que moverse en principio, ¿no?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Solo es este, ¿no? Sí.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
¿Lo tomó? ¿O lo dejó sonar? ¿Puedo?
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
I know.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Práctica.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
Ahora sí quiero contestarlo. Sería muy chistoso si dejaran. No puedo cliquear nada, parece. Tengo que volver.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
¿Te puedes caer? Si es así, tengo que probar eso luego. Debe ser muy divertido. De verdad que sí.
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
Seguro, seguro.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Y si vuelvo otra vez a la derecha? Ay, no. ¿Será? ¿O le hago caso? Ay, no sé. Es que está divertido molestarlo. ¿Para qué? Pero sí. Y... si algo, volvemos a hacer esto y vamos por la izquierda. Por ahora voy a hacer otra a la derecha.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
Oh, todo está muy extraño ahora. Y si lo vuelvo a hacer, no va a pasar nada, ¿no? No. Pero no puedo abrir puertas. No. Oh, todo extraño. Ok, vamos a ver. Ok, llega.
Oh, it's
genial.
ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
¿Y ahora?
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. Here in this pile of rubbish. With you. You, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No sé si aquí continúa, por así decirlo, este camino, por así decirlo, o si me devolvió atrás para que eligiera la de la izquierda, en cuanto ya la había como estropeado. Voy a elegir, esta es la izquierda. Tal vez sea eso.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, esta puerta ya no tiene lo del... que es un baño. Ok, no puedo abrir puertas aquí.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Nightshark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
¿Sí? A ver.
Stanley spoke the code. Nightshark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
No tendré que hablarlo yo, ¿verdad? Como el que me está
I'm
escuchando.
sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
Perdón, es que me da pena. No quiero que me escuchen.
Okay, fine. You're not going to do it. But you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important.
The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you could ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
Qué bueno. Oh, esto... No. Me gustó, me gustó. Muy chévere. Bueno, sí, sigamos, ¿no?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Para llegar al otro camino del teléfono era haciendo todo mal. Haciendo el camino incorrecto, ¿verdad? Porque quiero ver si qué pasa si tomo el teléfono. Bueno, ya lo
This
hice,
was not
pero-
the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
O sea, ya lo he visto, pero pues obviamente
Wow.
quiero que lo vean
Yes,
ustedes
this
también.
room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ah, mira, este nos falta. Tal vez después.
Stanley was so bad at following directions,
Espera,
it's incredible he
sí.
wasn't fired years ago.
Sí, yo me quería suicidar aquí. ¿Puedo? ¡Oh!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
¡Qué bueno! Ok, vamos rápido. Oh, esperen, denme un momento que aquí está muy oscuro y tengo que prender la luz. Ok, ya. Que si no, toda la luz de la pantalla me hubiera estado molestando. Ya.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Oye, es distinto. Sí, está cambiado. No puedo hacer nada, ¿no? No me acuerdo si era esta. No, pero había una puerta que si la tocabas 5 veces te salía un logro. ¿Eh? No, sí, estamos bien. No. ¿O fue esta la que miré? ¿Oh? What? ¿No puedo clicar más? No parece. Ok, ahora sí vamos. Elegir
When Stanley came
Del
to a set
teléfono.
of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace? Its subtle charm? No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ok, entonces vamos para lo del teléfono, que es por acá cerca.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
La próxima podemos ir por allá. Si nos dejamos caer acá y vamos allá, tal vez se pueda.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Eso,
That's her, Stanley.
ahora sí.
You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Ok, no me acordaba de esto. Exactamente.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Buenos días, empleado 427. Presione E en su teclado. ¿En serio? No puedo hacer nada, ¿no? No. No me acordaba que era así. Lo recordaba distinto.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Aquí podrás, supongo, poner otras cosas. Y... sí, y seguro se enfada. Después lo hacemos. Vamos a seguir como nos dice.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Qué bueno.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again. And then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
¿Le hago caso? Voy a hacerle caso. ¿Cuánto tiempo tendría que estar? ¿Tendré que poner a propósito R, aunque no quiera? No lo sé. O sea, supongo que si no presionas R, te quedas así todo hasta que presiones R, ¿no? Supongo. ¿Y si presiono otro botón? No. Creo que voy a presionar R. Pero no me regañes, porfa.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Huh?
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh. Eso fue un poco creepy.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be.
Oh.
Stanley just needed to get to the meeting room, and from then on, he would never be alone ever again.
Huh. Voy a ir otra vez allá. Y lo que voy a hacer será... Ok, por un momento pensé que era sangre. Me asusté. Sí, voy a ir allá. Y... espérate. ¿Pero puedes? ¿Puedes hacer otra elección? Supongo que si no presionas, si presionas los otros botones y no los que te dice él. Uy. Entonces no puedes continuar, ¿no? Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by
Esta
the
vez sí quiero
employee
ir por
lounge
la
first,
izquierda.
just to admire it.
Okay, sí.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood true happiness. Then the feeling went away, and he felt sad again. Then it came back, and lingered for a minute or two. Now it's only half there. Just a kind of, tingle.
Es distinto.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ok, ahora sí hagámosle caso.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Supongo que ahí me lleva al de... me acordé del camino que decía escape. Y vuelve.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase,
Creo que era por
Stanley
acá.
walked upstairs to his boss's
De
office.
hecho, aunque no sé si me lo permita. Mira. Esto, execute. Ok. Para ser rico es un crimen. Para cometer crímenes no es ser rico. ¿Qué vida podría ser para elegir solo una? No puedo hacer nada aquí, ¿no? No parece. Pero, ok, no pensé que pudiera abrirla. Ok. Interesante. Ok. No, abajo. ¿Cuándo termina? What? Eso era el de arriba. Ok, solo era para hacer eso, no lleva a ningún sitio. What? Ok, no. Ya. Me había perdido solamente.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
No puedo interactuar con nada más aparte de eso, ¿no? Es que quiero molestarlo.
2845.
¿Y si pongo otra? ¿Y si pongo otra?
But it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well the sheer statistical unlikelihood that this would ever result in a correct combination. If he knew that the combo was 2845, it would be another story entirely. But no, this is what he was going to do instead.
Qué bueno. Tratando de interactuar. Que no parece que pueda hacer nada. ¿Y si lo presionas de aquí? ¿Puedo? No puedo, ok. Pero por curiosidad simplemente. Ok, esto lo cortan para llegar directo. Bien.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ah, era acá. Probemos.
Although this passageway had the word Escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
No, a ver
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
¿Puedo escapar? No. Huh?
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
¿Y ella? ¿Quién es? Espera, no. Oh, puedo moverme. Aunque no sé, no veo mucho. Oh, ok, ya. Tal vez es por allá. Pero no puedo hacer nada más. Digo, me van a sacar. Ah, no, ya.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Qué bueno. Kevin Brightening. Como el narrador. Ah, mira. Aunque no encontré los... Me faltaron el 2 y el 3, creo, por encontrar. O el 2, no me acuerdo. The Office. Ok. Tendría que ver algo más. O sea, ¿puedo hacer algo más? O sea, sí, aquí se ve el recorrido, el diseño. Ah, y acá hay algo más que dice las dos puertas. Ah, espera, ¿aquí puedo? Espera. Ok, sí. Pues sí, vamos. Acá. ¿Qué es esto? Boss Office. La oficina del jefe, claro. Qué bien. Office clock. Underground. Huh. Ok, veamos la otra parte, o sea, por allá, que parece que continúa más. Sí se ve muy extraño Tal vez es como demasiado colorido. No lo sé. Esto... Oh, y aquí más cosas. Qué montón de cosas. Está muy interesante todo esto. Ah, volvimos. Vale, vale, bien. Volvimos. What? What? ¿Y esto? Qué curioso esto. Hubiera sido chévere. Esto... ¿Emails? Ah. Ok. Y el sitio que nos falta, bueno, acá. ¿Sí? Ah, sí se ven cambios. Como la caja. Esta amarilla no está. El cuadro. El tajalápiz tampoco está. Sí, algunas cosas. Interesante. Sí, 427. Y... Ok, y ahora el sitio. Acá, exit. Claro, para pagar.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
On. Off.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Oh. Ok, no puedo moverme. Tengo que volver a comenzar yo mismo. Voy a esperar un poco más. Creo que sí me toca volver a comenzar, me parece. Ok, ahora vamos...
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Ahora vamos a ir a ese camino de la... ¿Esa puerta estaba antes? Porque... No sé. En la plataforma.
When Stanley came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Vamos a
and
ir
Stanley knew
a la
it perfectly
plataforma.
well. Perhaps he wanted to
Y
stop
nos
by the
tiramos
employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ahí en esta
Stanley
parte,
felt
a la
lightheaded,
derecha.
butterflies in his stomach. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Acá,
Look,
allá.
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Peligro en todas partes. ¿Puedo? ¿Podré alguna? ¿Abrir alguna? Oh,
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
no le voy a hacer caso.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Ok, ¿por qué no?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Ahora, puedo molestarlo diciéndole que tuve malas experiencias o complaciéndolo diciendo que 5 o bueno, en verdad cualquier otra. ¿Puedo irme sin más? No, ¿verdad? Esta parte quiero volver otra vez y cambiar la opción. Pero no sé, ¿lo molesto o no? Creo... Venga, esta vez no. Ya volveremos otra vez aquí y le daremos un 1.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Oh. ¿Eh? What? ¿En serio? ¿En serio? Ah, mira.
Now,
Oh.
would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Paso. No voy a quedarme 4 horas.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
A ver. Genial. Genial.
Well, Stanley, is this any better?
Sí.
At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here. No, here. And then...
Aquí.
Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Le di al botón de salto aquí y ahí me apareció el logro. Así que bueno, ya saben dónde, dónde hay que saltar para conseguir el logro.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
Oh, ok, me abrió un camino. Qué bueno, con la música también. Qué bueno, es distinta en verdad. Claro.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
No. Uy, me asusté, pensé que era un zombie. Pensé que había visto un zombie. ¿Puedo? Ok. No.
Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
Se escuchan ya los zombies. No sé si podía seguir un poco más adelante. Sería interesante probarlo.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it.
Portal.
You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
¿Por dónde? Oh. Genial.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte.
Vale, se cae solo.
Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games. and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game if it makes it any richer for you, but as for me, I've had enough. So, why don't you get cozy in this room, and if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity. I don't need your advice. I don't need your ratings. And I certainly don't need the validation of a man whose job is to push buttons. I think I'll just go about my business, making meaningful cultural contributions to the world. And perhaps every now and then I'll think back to a man named Stanley who was objectively wrong in every decision he ever made. The thought won't last long. Goodbye, Stanley. Good luck with your work, and I sincerely hope that everyone lives happily ever after.
Oh. ¿Estoy yendo por el camino correcto? Ok, allá. Perfecto. Uy. No puedo interactuar con nada de aquí. ¿Eh?
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
No me puedo mover ni mirar. Oh, ok, alrededor, no. Oh, bien. Yo sigo cliqueándole ahí por si pasase algo. No sé para qué es lo de los saves exactamente. ¿Me falta alguna otra opción? No lo sé. Estoy un poco... ¿Será? No sé. ¿Me falta algo? Estoy pensando, pero no estoy
Stanley decided to go to the
seguro.
meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Estoy pensando...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
No sé. Voy a hacer una partida más y si no veo nada.
Yet there was
No.
not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
No puedo interactuar con nada aquí, parece. Oh, broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Puedo.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet.
Sí
No
me quedo.
reason to still be here.
¿Y si me quedo acá?
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Genial.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Pues que no sé por dónde más ir.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Me pregunto.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friend you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Sí, por supuesto le diré eso.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. In a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Me encanta molestarlo, es muy divertido. ¿No vas a decirme nada más? ¿No? Voy a esperar unos 10 segundos más. Y si no, salgo.
Salgamos. Ah, Second player, it's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Qué bien, ahora puedo ir por abajo. ¿Y no puedo abrir esto? Continuar. Un carro.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? and everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Muy interesante este final. Sí, me gustó mucho. No sé cuánto llevamos. De hecho, voy a mirar. A ver. Dice... Llevamos como 1 hora y media, tal vez. Más o menos. Muy chévere. Muy bueno este juego, de verdad. Muy divertido. Excelente. Y para ser de la época, yo creo que es muy innovador en cuanto a este como estilo de juego, tal vez. 2013. Yo creo que sí, no sé. Muy bueno el juego. No sé si me falten más finales o más caminos. Si algo, pues si algo me lo pueden comentar, y así en un, no creo que directo, porque pues no creo que me falte tanto, pero en un video podría ser que miremos las otros caminos que hayan. Y ya. no tengo mucho más que decir, así que nada más. Espero que les haya gustado. Lo que sea, déjenmelo en los comentarios. Y nos vemos en el próximo video o directo. De hecho, sí, el 31. Sí, es 31, ¿no? Sí, el 31. Otro capítulo de Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Y también quiero continuar con el Rogue Legacy, que seguramente sea en directo. O no sé, la verdad no estoy muy seguro. Quiero terminarlo, llevo mucho tiempo con ese. ¿Y qué otra cosa? Bueno, A Hat in Time. Estoy un poco perdido porque yo dije en el último, aunque no sé si ya se publicó, creo que no, pero pues al final de ese último dije que iba a ser un nivel, pero ese nivel está con candado. Entonces, bueno, ya veré qué hago. Tal vez busque algún video para hacer una de estas piezas temporales o cualquier cosa, no sé, la verdad. Ya veré qué hago, sí, pero pues también quiero terminarlo para continuar con sus DLCs y todo. Pues quiero subir otras cosas también. Y bueno, ahora sí, nada más. Espero que les haya gustado, lo que sea. Déjenmelo en los comentarios. Y nos vemos en el próximo video sería. Así que chao.